Champions League football is back at the Emirates Stadium, but there's plenty of players missing, not just for Arsenal, which makes a nice change, but for both teams. And there's some familiar faces returning to the Shelbourne Realty Training Centre. Some faces that some people made you believe weren't even around 24 hours ago, but miracles are seemingly possible. This is the Arsenal Preview Show. Hello and welcome to the Goodness All, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is our Arsenal Preview Show, the show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture, which, as I've mentioned in this case, is the Champions League game against PSG. It's always a pleasure to do these shows because it means I get to interact and always are joined by our fantastic members of the Discord server. And today I'm joined by Damien. How you doing, Damien? You good? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's a bit rubbish weather-wise, but other than that, it's all good. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, you're Yorkshire way, aren't you? So
yeah,
colder than here.
Yeah, it has. This week has been a noticeable difference, and it's like 5 o'clock in the evening. I've got my lights on, so winter is here.
Winter is indeed no longer coming. It is just here.
Yeah.
Even though we're in September, or it's October tomorrow, to be fair. So I suppose that they can, the gods can get away with it in some way.
Just skip autumn and just go straight to winter.
Which is a shame. Genuinely, autumn's like my favourite month.
Yeah.
So, and the way in which the climate's going these days, it feels like it's being skipped every year.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I like doing taking some photos because where I live, you get some gorgeous scenery. And yeah, it is a shame that you just seem to go straight from summer to winter. Because like I say, autumn is
25 degrees, the next is 12.
Yeah. Well, I think it's 7 at the moment, but yeah.
Yeah, or even worse. Or even worse. There isn't any autumn blues, though, thankfully, about Arsenal right now because our form has been very good and we've come off the back of an entertaining, dramatic win over Leicester. And now we've got a really good chance of playing a big side in the Champions League and getting another boost from that. But, of course, with that comes the risk of facing a team that can cause us problems. So how are you feeling generally going into this one?
This one, I'm quite nervous about this, actually, because PSG are a very good team. And I've often, like for a while, I've said that if they got rid of the likes of Mbappe and Neymar and all that, I actually think they'd be a better team because it'd actually be about the team rather than the individuals. And when, there's a screenshot I saw earlier today of the PSG squad. And even when you consider the fact they're riddled with injuries, you look at that squad and you think that is more than a decent squad that they've got there. And I actually saw the PSG game against Barcelona in the Champions League at Barcelona's temporary stadium last season. And they just looked so good in that game against Barcelona. And, you look at some of the players they've got. I mean, their midfield is quite insane, really. And, I think if people are underestimating PSG, they're doing it at their peril.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I've seen some people like the squad list has come out today that they're bringing with us. There is a big absentee that we'll obviously talk about as well. But it is amazing how quickly people just underestimate. Of course, their start to the season's been a little bit like mixed. I'll just read you through some of the games that they've played so far. They won 6-0 against Montpellier on the opening day of the season, which is a big win. But they've also drawn with Reims as well. They only narrowly beat Girona 1-0, but then they've had big wins over Lille away from home 3-1, and they've
I think
Rennes as well 3-1 this weekend.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen myself, Lille and Reims, I think they're both away games, and they're both up in the top 5 or 6 of the league, whereas the other teams they faced have been bottom half of the league.
Right.
But yeah, the game against Girona, bearing in mind as well, that was a 90th minute own goal that got them the win at home in that game. And Girona have not had the best starts to life in their league either.
Yes, they've lost a lot of their big players.
So I think they're not the team that they were last season. So yeah, it's always hard to tell with teams in Ligue 1 in France because of how weak the actual league is itself. But yeah, I just look at there was a guy that I saw last season, Barcola, and he looks really impressive, and he's basically been given the role of replacing Mbappe. So they clearly think a lot of him, and I think he's got off to a really good start this season, scoring pretty much a goal a game this season. So for me, he's the danger man for them that we have to kind of keep an eye on.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he's been fantastic. He obviously made his kind of real hit internationally with France at the Euros this summer as well. And so there's a lot of expectation around. A lot of Arsenal fans suggesting maybe we should have looked at him in the summer. It would have been very tricky to convince him to leave a starting place in that PSG team to come and fight for a place at Arsenal.
But yeah, I mean, when you've been told by your coach you're replacing Mbappe, and then you get another club come along and say, "Do you want to come and sit on their bench?" You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tough. He's got 6 goals in 7 this season. The next highest scorer though is Ousmane Dembele, who has not been called up because of reportedly a disagreement with Luis Enrique following the win over Rouen. I mean, that's a plus for us, I suppose.
That is massively a plus. Do we know what the disagreement was about?
I've no idea. No, I've absolutely no idea. No.
Must be something pretty serious with Enrique if you're leaving a player of that caliber out of an important Champions League game. It's not like playing...
And they won. Like they won their game. Yeah, I don't know if he came off or was. I'm going to check if he was substituted. Actually, I think there's a resident PSG fan in our chat box. Barar in the chat says, "Hi, PSG fan here. After losing the Stars, we're actually a better team now, but losing Dembele does complicate things. However, we have enough talent to get a win." So maybe Barar, you can give us a bit of insight into the reasoning behind this disagreement, because it is rather amusing. But carry on.
I was just going to say, I think it's hit the nail on the head about the fact that they've lost their stars, but they're a better team. You know, and for me, that's important. You know, if you've got Mbappe and Neymar and everything's revolving around them, they're prima donnas and whatever else. Get them out and get in players that are going to work for the team, not just for themselves and their own reputation, their own image. Then you're going to have a better team. So I've got a lot of time for PSG. I think they are a very, very good team.
Yeah, it always feels the way when teams lose like a massive talismanic figure that's had such an emphasis on them that actually it can have the opposite effect. I think in some ways that happened with Arsenal when Aubameyang left, because I feel as though that there was such like a bottleneck of goals through him, and the goals weren't necessarily coming from elsewhere. It enabled Odegaard to score more. Martinelli scored more. Saka became a much more integral figure in the team. And we obviously moved towards a more collaborative number 9 in Havertz and with Jesus prior to that as well. So, yeah, I think, and Grant obviously raised that point in the chat. I wasn't nicking your point, Grant. I promise. I did come up with that in my own mind before you put it. But I think it's a fair point. You know, those, and we see it sometimes. I think with Man City, there's been such an emphasis on Rodri and De Bruyne and Haaland. They're out there without obviously Rodri and De Bruyne at the moment, and they've drawn their last 3 games. So hopefully that continues on their side of things. On the Arsenal side of things, Damien, obviously there was a big worry yesterday evening because there was rumours circulating that Ricardo Calafiori had suffered a reportedly serious knee injury. I talked about it on this morning's show about him having a compression strapping around his knee in the mix zone. I wasn't actually in the mix zone when that went through at that time, so I missed it, but I was sent pictures of it by a friend who was there, and that obviously created a bit of concern. But reports are today that, you know, he's in contention. He trained with the team, of course, as well, and with Ben White not being in training, obviously, which is a frustration, but hopefully that's not too serious as well. Maybe he'll be available for Southampton at the weekend, but he is going to be a big boost to still have with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in his early days, he's already showing what he can actually bring to our defence. You know, I don't know if you remember a conversation we had in the comment section of one of the videos about Calafiori, where I said that I wasn't overly keen on the signing of him. And I'm kind of still standing by that at the moment, because he seems like he gets too excitable. You know, you like at the weekend, I do kind of look at him that he's a red card waiting to happen. And he was lucky not to get sent off for the weekend. But if we can kind of coach that out of him a little bit, but still keeping that passion there, then I am a lot more confident than I was that he's going to be a top quality addition to our squad. But my concern at the moment is what we don't want is we're going against PSG. He makes a rash challenge because he's getting overexcited and ends up getting himself sent off in the opening 20 minutes, for example. You know, because then that's just curtains for us as far as I'm concerned. But I like him now a lot more than what I did, as I say. But I'm still kind of, I don't want to admit that I'm wrong, so I'm going to reserve judgment for now.
Yeah, no, I empathise with that entirely.
I think actually, when he scored the goal, I think he made an error for City's that led to City's first goal, didn't he? He had Savinho turned him very, very easily. And I'm sitting there watching the game, and I'm like, see, I told you he was no good. I told you we shouldn't have had him at this club, and all this I'm going. And then when he scored the goal, I'm like, okay, you're getting back in my favours a little bit now.
Yeah, I think I took out Salah this week, just because I needed to free up some funds and get Gabriel into my defence, and so I brought Diaz in, who's obviously had a very good start to the season, and got Gabriel in, but then he didn't keep a clean sheet, and Salah scored, so I may as well have just kept it as it was last week.
Mind you saying that, I don't understand anyone that hasn't got Gabriel in their fantasy team,
That's
because
why I got him.
he keeps clean sheets most week. He's a
Yeah,
top scoring centre back in the league.
yeah.
You just sort of look and you think, surely he's one of the first names.
He's like the Haaland equivalent of a defender.
Yeah.
Like, you need
Yeah,
Haaland,
pretty
you
much.
need Gabriel. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those. Yeah, without a doubt. Barra has been in response to our Dembele question. He says, not a lot of details coming out regarding Dembele, but he is being dropped due to a disciplinary action. I can say that many are annoyed by his selfishness near the goal, leading to missed chances. So, you know, he's got 4 this season, but perhaps PSG could have even more if he was a little bit more collaborative in the team. Mika Moreno and Tomiyasu were back in training today. I'd be shocked if they're in the squad tomorrow, of course, because it's the first we're kind of seeing them. I think that Odegaard as well involved. Odegaard as well, I think, when I talk about this next phase, I think after the international break, which, by the way, supposedly Odegaard has made it known to Norway that he is not available to be called up, which is, you know, not good, but also good.
What about Marino? Is he?
He won't be called up either. So, yeah, that'll be fine. But those 3, Marino, Tomiyasu, Odegaard, after the international break, how big of a boost will that be?
It'll be huge, because we've got a few nice games coming up at the moment. Also, we just had Leicester, but should have been nice. Then we've got, obviously, I think Southampton and Bournemouth in the league. And then after that, we've got 3 tough games. Is it Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle in some sort of order?
Yes. Inter Milan in there as well, I think.
Yeah, so to have them 3 available, I mean, Tomiyasu I kind of don't pay much attention to, because it's just a bonus if he's able to play a game. But certainly to have Marino and Odegaard available is going to be huge for us.
I think that Odegaard's absence, he's definitely been felt. And I think that that's been felt in the press in particular. And I think obviously creatively, there are always going to be some question marks about what we're doing. And Trossard's delivered goals, but creatively there is, you know, the lack of chances in the Man City game when we had 11 men, for instance, I think was raised. But I think actually we ended up creating 36 shooting opportunities against Leicester, you know, in that game when we won at 2-2. So there's so many numbers that you can look at in different ways, and it gives you different stories. But
I think it's hard to judge Odegaard's miss in games against the likes of Leicester, and I would imagine against Southampton as well, where we're expected to have so much of the ball and create so many chances. Even with, I mean, you know, they're the kind of games that you should be able to say to Odegaard, have a rest, we'll play somebody else. You know, and you should still be able to comfortably win them games. But I think when you actually watch us in all the games we've had since Odegaard's been out, I think Saka is massively missing him. You know, because that link-up play, it's almost psychic between the 2 of them. You know, Saka knows if he gives Odegaard the ball and makes a run, Martin will make that pass, and he'll get it every single time. You even get it when Ben White has a throw-in, for example, in the attacking third. Odegaard always makes that run behind the defenders towards the byline, and Ben White's waiting and waiting for Odegaard to make that run. As soon as that run's made, he knows to make the throw to him. And you don't see that when he's not there. You know, you don't see Trossard making that run, and he's probably not been instructed to. But yeah, Trossard, from a finishing perspective, you can't argue against him. But at the same time, I don't think you can really expect him to have the creativity of Odegaard either, because they're just different players.
Yeah, no, and they are. And this is the big argument we had, obviously, in the summer, I think, with a lot of fans, is like the signings that we did or didn't make. It's impossible for me to think that we could have signed anybody that, if you lose Odegaard, you're not going to feel his absence. It's near, and the fact that we have managed to not only stay unbeaten, but beaten Spurs, you know, managed to get really good results away at Atalanta and Man City as well, and then obviously beat Leicester and beat Bolton as well, and progress the next round, etc. And now we got PSG. That is such an impressive run of form that people really aren't talking about, because there's been such controversy about refereeing decisions. We've not been able to take a step back and really talk about the football, which has actually been pretty decent overall.
Yeah, I mean, if someone said to me we'd beat Spurs, we'd draw with Man City, I'd have taken that.
Oh, without question. Yeah,
that's with a fully fit team as well.
If I'd have said that you could get 11 points in the first 15 games, and those, first 5 games, and those away games that included Villa, Spurs, and Man City, I would have said maybe 13. But looking at the context of how we dropped points in those games, and we very nearly beat City, and we shouldn't have been down to 10 men against Brighton. I mean, the only games we dropped points in are teams we finished the game without 11 men on the field. So that's big.
When you look at our fixtures, away at Villa Park, away at White Hart Lane, away, not White Hart Lane, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, away at the Etihad, they're 3 of the 4 toughest away games we're going to have this season, with Anfield being the only one we've not ticked off the list at the moment. So to have them out the way now and knowing how well we've done basically gives me even more confidence in our chances this season.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So obviously tomorrow evening, of course, we're recording this on Monday evening in this game, there is a feeling that, we've got this international break coming up. We can go as strong as we like. I don't think there's a real need to rotate from the weekend, even with Southampton, of course, on Saturday. Martinelli was a player who, in a lot of people's minds, was, up for debate as to whether or not he should start games, and his form was off. But that goal he scored at the weekend, I felt as though it lifted a weight off his shoulders.
You could almost visibly see that weight come off his shoulders when that goal went in. It already, he's obviously got an assist in that game, and he's been unfortunate in other games where he's created chances, but it's not been finished, whether it's by Havertz or whoever. And you kind of, you visibly saw that weight just come off of his shoulders when he scored that goal. And that's why I think this game against PSG is massive for him, because if he can take that confidence and actually put in another top quality performance, get another goal, maybe get an assist, it's just going to help him even more. It's great to see how well he done in that game with his goal and his assist, but he needs to carry that on now, to just build up that confidence, because it's been a long time since we've seen the best of Martinelli.
Yeah, he is a confidence player, and he has the backing of his players. He's one of the few players actually that's managed to break the mold under Arteta, who, along with Saliba and Saka, who were obviously signed prior to Arteta's arrival. That's not easy to do, because Arteta's really built this team around players. He's practically signed the entire 11 with Edu, and it's Saka, Saliba, and Martinelli who you look at and go, well, obviously they were, around before he arrived. But even after signings like Trossard, and obviously now Sterling coming in, and to a lesser extent Smith Rowe's progression on the left-hand side as well, Martinelli's been able to stand up against that pressure. He's continued to deliver, and I think that he has improved a lot. There has been questions about, is he the one player that's kind of gone a bit backwards? But I think that we saw his best season in 22-23.
Yeah.
That season was his best season that we've had so far. There's 15 goals, 5 assists in the Premier League, 20 goal contributions. What is it, do you think, that stopped him from replicating that?
I think it was a combination of the injuries that he got, because he had a couple of big injuries over the last, season and a half, 2 seasons. And on top of that, when he's then come back from injury, he's not been able to hit the heights that he had a couple of years ago. And, that, like we said, that's going to then damage his confidence. But I think it says a lot about him how Arteta has stuck by him and regularly starts him, because you talk to a lot of people and they will say Trossard should be starting over Martinelli pretty much every single week. But for the majority of the time, Arteta goes with Martinelli. And I think part of that is because he knows what he gets from him in a defensive way on that left-hand side as well. And with how, we as a fan base don't seem to be able to agree on what our first choice left back actually is. Because some people will tell you it's Calafiori, some people will tell you it's Timber, a few might tell you it's Zinchenko. But the one consistent that you get from Arsenal, from Arteta, is Martinelli on that left-hand side, and the hard work that he puts in, getting forward, getting backwards. He doesn't stop working. He's very much, I would say him and Havertz are probably the 2 hardest working players we've got. The 2 that by the end of the game, you can imagine just crashing out in the change rooms because they've just got no more energy to give. And, for me, that means a lot. That's one of the things why I've often said that if someone like Martinelli isn't available, I'd like Jesus on the left, because he works hard. He's always trying to get the ball back. He's like a rabid dog sometimes, and I think that's one of the reasons why Arteta sticks with Martinelli. Plus the fact that he knows what he's capable of. He's seen what he's capable of, and you know you have to feel sorry for Trossard because a lot of the time when he plays, he actually does make a significant difference for us.
Yeah.
But it does kind of come across that Martinelli seems to be favoured by Mikel.
I think that obviously you picked him as your predicted star man for this game. I think, you know, in big games against sides like PSG, where he's going to have to be on it, and he's going to have to, and defensively as well. I think the Man City performance was excellent. You know, he really did put in that defensive work there, and I think Arteta trusts him a lot when he has to go and play those bigger teams because he does put in so much work to get back, track back, make tackles, and that's important. But let's go through your team. It's unchanged from the team, of course, that beat Leicester on Sunday. I don't think that's too much of a surprise.
No, I mean,
go on. Sorry.
No, sorry, go
No,
on.
go.
I was just going to say that for me, this is the strongest available starting 11 we have. You know, so you go strong in this game, and if there's, you know, if you need to rest Calafiori, for example, on the left-hand side because while he's not injured to the point where he's out of the team, it might be that he's got a niggle or something like that. Just leave him out against Southampton, play Zinchenko there. Well, he's probably not available, but whoever's available, just get them in. Kivior out there, he should be fine against Southampton. So I think you can make change at the weekend. This is the game. What concerns me as well is with this particular game against PSG, we've got 6 Champions League games left after this one.
Yes.
And the general consensus seems to be 15 to 16 points is what you need to qualify from this group stage automatically.
Right.
And if we say we draw against PSG, we picked up 2 points, that then means by that we're going to need 13 to 14 points.
Yeah, from
to
18.
So we're going to need more than 2 points a game. And when you consider you've got Inter Milan to come, Sporting Lisbon away as well, which is going to be another massive away game, it then kind of starts to make you think we're going to be playing them extra 2 games.
I think you have to win all your home games. Like that. If you want to finish in the top 8, win all your home games, win 1 or 2 of the aways, and perhaps get a draw. I think you can probably afford to drop points in 3 or 4. There's no worry about the top 24 and getting into that playoff. But Arsenal, I think I saw someone saying you only have to get something like 7 or 8 points, they estimate, for you to actually get into the top 24, which is kind of mad. But the reality is, of course, you don't want to play those 2 extra games that you have to play.
No, and I saw something, read something, so I can't remember where it was on Reddit, but that, you know, I've always been of the opinion that 15 points should be enough to get you through automatically to the round of 16. And from what I've read, someone had been simulating the group stage of Champions League thousands of times. Yeah. And it tended to be 15 to 16 points was the average of what you needed to get through. Obviously, some years it'd be more, some years it'd be less. But top 8 would be 15 to 16 points. Yeah, like I say, if we didn't get through as top 24, then something's gone drastically wrong.
Something unbelievable.
I think then you'd be getting people saying sack Arteta.
The reason why I'm so panicky about the top 8 as well is because the live event is the week of the playoffs in the Champions League. Yeah. So obviously it wouldn't be on a Thursday night, but I remember obviously last year we did the live event and it was following the defeat to Porto, which was not enjoyable. I'd much rather be talking about I think whatever Premier League game we had prior to that week and having a nice week of rest off so we can kind of reflect more on the season. But if it comes to, I'm just going to have a quick look now what the games are for February.
So hopefully we sound like home to Ipswich or something.
It's home to West Ham the weekend after, and we're away to Leicester the weekend before. So it's a nice week. You'd look at that. So hopefully we don't have to play like, you know, Sporting a home and away. Just any. I don't want a Portuguese team. I'm sick of us losing or getting knocked out by Portuguese teams at the moment. Anyway, so that's Damien's team, unchanged, and unsurprisingly, mine is exactly the same. So no surprises there at all when it comes to picking those. Sticking with Havertz as always as the predicted star. I'm just manifesting him to be brilliant always. So I think it's an absolute must win, as people are saying in the chat box. I don't think we can afford really to drop. Not that we can afford to drop points theoretically, but just in terms of the statement this would make, momentum that it would build, what it could do for the team is really important. So predictions, Damien.
I'm going with a 2-1 win. I was going to say 2-0, but I do think they are going to get a goal because we do tend to concede at home. Our best performances seem to be on the road. So I'll go 2-1 at home. I'm going to go with Barcola to score for PSG, seeing as I seem to be backing him. And I'm going to go with Martinelli and Gabriel to score for us.
I'm going to go 3-1. Obviously, a Havertz hat-trick for all 3 goals would be quite nice. But yeah, I think Barcola's a good shout. This might be the first time in the flesh that I actually get to see Marco Asensio. And for long-time listeners of the channel, you'll know how much of a big moment that is for me, considering he's someone I'd backed since his Espanyol loan days. So he is in the squad. So yeah, that's going to be a moment that I'll enjoy. Hopefully it's not one that it's him scoring, and it's just one to see him in the mix zone after the game. So that should be a lot of fun. But thank you, Damien. First of all, thank you to you. I really appreciate you jumping on having a chat. It's been a different type of preview. I've quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been good.
I think the one-on-one preview shows could be a thing that we continue to do in the future with listeners. We'll see how it goes. But I know there's obviously a lot of interest usually, but it was a quiet week this week. But you stepped up to the plate and you did well. So thanks, mate.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, you can find Damien in our members Discord server. All you need to do to join that is go into the link tree down in the description. Or, of course, I think for some of you, there's a join button next to the subscribe button, and you can join our membership scheme. If you become an expert member or a TGT ambassador, you can indeed join the TGT Discord server. If I need to put a new link for the Discord in the community tab, let me know, and I'll do that. Sometimes the link expires, and so just let me know if I need to put a new one in there, and I'll do that as soon as I can. But thank you for all of you in the chat box, of course, for listening too. Get some of your predictions before we wrap up. Zamir says 3-1. Grant says 3-2. Zamir's going for a Raya hat-trick. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, mate. Dan says 2-0 to the Arsenal, Martinelli and Saka. PW says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Granddaddy Guna says 3-0. Martinelli, Havertz and Waneri. Amberley says 2-0. Rans is going for a 3-1. And Tom's going for a 3-0 to the Arsenal as well. Thank you to you all for tuning in. Do drop a like before you leave us and subscribe if you're new. And for those, of course, that are listening live that don't get to tune in for our 8 a.m. shows because it's probably a silly hour for you in the morning, welcome and thank you for tuning in. And of course, you can find all of our previews the day before the next game at 5 o'clock usually on those. So for the Southampton game, Friday, 5 o'clock will be the next one. See you soon. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.